Right, good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to today's Learn in Your Lunchtime training webinar. And we'll be going through some key concepts and insights around how to plan better. And I think planning is just such an important part of getting your degree and being successful. And I'll take you through some of the tips and tricks that I've learned. I'll also make you an offer of going into my full course on this, and I'll provide that to you for free a little bit later on in the webinar. I'll pop that link in the chat. But in the meantime, just as always, let's see who's here, and just give us a warm hello and a welcome to everybody else. Tell us which university you're from. Great to see many people coming online and available for this update this afternoon. We have just such a wonderful Facebook group with so many people engaging in there and finding a huge amount of value from these sessions. So please just do say hi and tell us all good. And what your specific questions are around planning. I think I've had so many coaching calls in the last few weeks, where I speak to people, and just one of the biggest challenges is getting on top of their tasks and making sure that they, focus on what they need to do during the day. And of course, we've spoken previously on, webinars about, how to burn your boats, how to use a Kanban board, how to get your tasks, up on that Kanban board so that you know exactly what you need to do. And there's a full course, and we went through quite a lot of detail. We looked at a lot of examples, even from the Facebook group. We saw people like Ramona and Lorato who've used Kanban boards and burnt their boats. For that middle column of the tasks that are in progress. If you really want to nail those, then the best thing is to tell someone about it. So come into the Facebook group and burn your boats in the Facebook group. So just as you guys are coming online, you really just want to, ask you guys to also, while you're here, subscribe to the Student Success Coach YouTube channel. Really just so much value that's available for you there. Lots of videos, all these coaching webinars, and also just please do switch on your notifications there so that you get all the new videos that come through there. Because every time I launch a new course, or I put information out there, or I want to give updates, the YouTube channel is the best place to get all of those. And then, of course, in the Facebook group, that's where we have our interaction. We even have our mentorship program running there, and you guys are also able to then post into that Facebook group. For example, if you want to, burn your boats or tell us what's happening. I shared last week, I think that we had a couple of graduation gown pictures in the Facebook group, which is always just so special to see. And I moderate the Facebook group, but I absolutely do welcome everybody to, just to be very active in the group and contribute whatever, you think is useful for everybody else. All the experts that we've had on this YouTube channel, and if I think about, we had mental health, Melissa Ardendorf. We've had a couple of, writing experts. We had the Gabby, the Noodleman, the thesis coach. We had couple of others, and they're all members of the Facebook group, so you can get direct access to them, and then just to have that availability of those people on hand, I think is hugely valuable for you. All right, so hello Monet, hello Ayanda, hello Leandri, always good to see you, Leandri. You're a regular. Thank you for the support, Kabedi. Guys, please just do subscribe to the YouTube channel. I think that's your first action for today. If you haven't yet, and also please do switch on notifications. So looks like we've got a good big group joining us today, which is absolutely fantastic. And unsurprisingly, because if you're unable to plan better, and understand what's coming at you, and what doing your degree is going to entail and how to get through that, then you are going to struggle, and it is going to be stressful. And I think I posted in the Facebook group this week that if you plan, you can chill, and you can chill and relax, with the comfort and without the guilt. So if you plan well, and you manage your tasks and you burn your boats, you do all these things that we talk about on the channel here and in the Facebook group, then I'm fairly certain that you will be very successful. All right. So, and I think just very importantly, I had a couple of chats with a couple of people in the last few weeks, and I see this, happening, in my circles, where we struggle, and sometimes we fall back a little bit, and we fall behind. Something doesn't go our way. And I just want to encourage you all this afternoon that those just a little cul-de-sacs along the way to success. We're all about student success here on the group. And as the quote there says, winners and losers both fail. When you see people getting their degrees, when you see people succeeding in sports and in business and in any field of life, you don't see the multitude of failures behind them. You don't see the multitude of times that they've managed to get back up and keep going. And that's the role of a coach. That's my role. And the mentors that we have in the Facebook group, we have 5 mentors now available to support you on a regular basis. You need to have people around you and in your life, and if nothing else, at least me reminding you of that fact this afternoon. That failure is just a learning opportunity. If you can develop a growth mindset, and you can see that failure as a stepping stone in your journey to success, then just you'll be able to bounce back from that failure a lot easier. You'll be able to learn from it, and you'll be able to take those lessons and then improve your next attempt at whatever it was that you didn't manage to get through that time. So very importantly, I think just be a winner in terms of how you approach failure. Don't see failure as it's not the end of it. It's just a stepping stone on the way to your student success. And a lot of what we're going to talk about today in terms of planning and being successful, whether you look at a broad plan of a calendar of a number of months, or whether you plan out, we're going to look at things like the critical path, and I'm going to help you just understand some planning concepts that helps you maybe just step back a little bit from what it is that you want to achieve. But then as you go into that plan, the reality of life is going to hit you. The mental health issues that we've spoken about previously, the isolation, the depression, the demotivation, the things that you just simply cannot plan for, those are going to come at you. And if you can plan better, then at least you can deal with them a little bit better. But most importantly, not to give up. You might have to adjust your plan. You might have to start something again. You might have to change the way you're doing things. You might have to just cut back on other things to ensure that you've got enough focus. We had a great session last week with Clive Butkow, wonderful business leader, and he just said the most important thing for success that he sees in the entrepreneurs that he coaches and mentors is focus, focus, focus. So if you've got too much on the go and you're struggling to do well in your studies, then my strongest advice to you would be just to cut back if you can. Get the focus that you need so that you can be successful. All right, so good afternoon, Aretha. Great to see you again, a regular here. Simone, Muriel, Jolene, Cindy. Fantastic to have you guys. We've got UJ, we've got Wits, we've got Pretoria. Fantastic. So I have put the link to the YouTube channel on the chat, as well as to the Facebook group. So please, if you haven't yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that. Take action, make sure that you get the benefit of all the content that I put onto the YouTube channel. And then if you haven't subscribed into the Facebook group, you're more than welcome to sign up there, and I'll get around to approving everybody this afternoon. And I'll also, in the Facebook group, as I do after all of these webinars, I provide all the slides and all the resources and all the links. So the Facebook group really is the best place to go and get that update on a regular basis, and then the YouTube channel for the regular video content that I put onto the channel. All right, fantastic, guys. So let's start with the weekly supervisor status report. Now, this is both a planning and an execution technique that I'm going to take you through and just really map it out for you. And there's a full lesson and a little bit more detail around this in the course, which I'll make available to you guys as well just now. But I'm going to teach you now exactly how this weekly supervisor status report actually works. And if there's one thing that you can do that's practical and very easy to implement as a result of being on this webinar today, it could possibly be this weekly supervisor status report. So we're going to go into that, and I'm going to explain to you exactly how that works. Okay, so there you can see, and I just typed up quickly, the format that I used, and that's an email. So, and it doesn't have to be to your supervisor. It could be to your mentor. As you know, we've got a lot of mentors in the group, which is fantastic. It could be to an accountability partner. It could be to your mom. It could be to anybody that's, at least willing on a regular basis, and possibly I would advise on a weekly basis, to receive an email from you so that you can, get this discipline and this momentum going as part of your studies. So, what I advise is there, you just, put a simple greeting at the top. Now, very importantly, and this links into managing your relationship with your supervisors. If you do agree to send this to your supervisors, the added benefit of sending it to your supervisor is actually that it helps you manage that relationship with your supervisors. And one of the most important things is to streamline communications with your supervisors. They have lots of other students that they're dealing with. And if you can get them used to seeing and receiving one key update from you every week at the same time, you will just structure that relationship a lot more. And, they will, I think, be a lot more, willing and able to engage when there are issues that do crop up. And of course, there will be times in your degree when you gonna have a lot more emails and interaction with them, during the week. But on a regular, normal basis, as you go through your degree, I would advise that if you can streamline your communications with your supervisors in this way, it works very well for both them and for you. Now, the benefit for you is that it creates this momentum, this execution mechanism that I'm going to talk you through now. So very importantly, just at the top there, just greet them and say, my status report is below. Don't give them lots of detail in the actual email body, because the reality is supervisors also get lots of emails, and they're not always going to read even that one email per week. You find they might not even read it. So don't bomb them with a lot of information. Just FYI, the status report is below. Thanks. Now, the reason that you do that, very important, is because you save that space at the top of the email for when there is an issue, when there is something that you need. And I had times in my 4-year PhD when at the very top there, it was sort of dear supervisors, and I had 3 supervisors, and then there was some text in red, bold, italics that I said, I need help. This is an issue. This is a problem. But if you do that every week, and it's like an urgent running commentary, then you're going to get drowned out, and they're not going to, read your emails. But when those genuine issues do crop up, then by all means, at the top of that email for your status report update, then put that urgent information into that right at the top there. So to be, dear supervisor, please find my status report below. However, this is a major issue for me that I'm struggling with X, Y, Z. Okay, but as I say, on the normal basis, every week that you'd send it, you want to keep that sort of, greetings at the top there, very, very high level and simple. Then below that, you go into your status report. And this is obviously, if you've been in a workplace and you've been on projects, etc., very common, for different work streams in a project to submit their status reports, into the overall sort of project or program manager. And the same here, you just use that technique, but you apply it obviously to your studies. So typically there you'd put, status report, and then the date of that week. And then I would put a little status, you green, amber, red. And typically green is you're cruising, you're on top of your task, you're on top of your plan, you're well within your expected sort of progress that you need for that week, and you don't need any assistance from your supervisor. And I think that they might just get to that sea green and then not read any further. Amber is going to be, you're wobbling, there's been some issues, you need some help potentially, there's a couple of things that they need to be aware of. You're happy to kind of crack on and do your best to recover it, but any input would be very useful from them. And then red, as I said, you'd have something up at the top there, you'd have some more information in there, but red is help. I can't do anything, it's irrecoverable, the slippage is beyond my control at this stage. And I'll talk to you just now when we get to the planning techniques, how to monitor that slippage. Now, I did this every Sunday night for 4 years to complete my PhD, and I can honestly and authentically share with you that it was one of the single biggest factors of my success, and in getting my part-time PhD degree within the time frame. And especially if you are working part-time on a degree, you're struggling to manage lots of different things happening in your life, work, family, studies, can be quite tricky. This, and it was the case for me, I had a full-time job as well, busy family life, and then, trying to do a PhD on the side. This, because of all those reasons, made this weekly status report so much more valuable for me and useful as a planning and an execution technique. So what it is there is, your first section is going to be the top 5, maximum 5 tasks that you completed last week. And remember, don't talk about activities, talk about outcomes. So don't talk in high level sort of wishy-washy language. You did some reading on the topic. That's that's expected. You should be doing that. If you say read 10 papers from such and such a conference and loaded them into your EndNote source library, fine. That's an outcome. That's a task that you would update in there. Or wrote 300 words on my discussion paper or assignment or discussion section or results section of my final report or my proposal, whatever the case may be. Okay. And I had a question actually during the week on the Facebook group about university admin. And I would consider your university admin as part of the steps and the planning that you need to incorporate in your overall degree. So put that in there. If you need to register or change some admin or sort out your student affairs with the university, then put those in there. Obviously not all the minute detail, but where you've been able to sort things out, because they, as a supervisor, if you're sending it to your supervisor, also play a role to support you and sponsor you in all aspects of your degree, which includes making sure that your administrative aspects are sorted out. And there generally is a fair amount of bureaucracy in large universities. Understandably, they're large institutions, and it can put a lot of friction on your studies, and it can sometimes be quite bad for your studies if you're wasting time going in and sorting stuff out and people not getting back to you and so on. Your supervisors do need to be aware of that. And then again, if it's affecting your overall progress, you mark your status as red. So it's typically what I did Sunday night, gave me a chance to look back over the week, think about what I'd done. And then in the second section there, what are the tasks due next week? And then again, just list the maximum 5. Don't put long lists of things there. Just the top 5 most critical, important tasks that you, from a planning perspective, need to get done in the coming week to stay on track. And then I have a section there at the bottom, general concerns, etc. And that might be constant. You can just copy paste that from one week to the next, and that might be something that's not going to change that much on a weekly basis. For example, developing a topic, for example, or finding external examiners, or not having enough interviewees or participants in your study, for example. There's general concerns that you might just want to take note of there. But resolving a risk on a plan or resolving an administrative issue, that's a completed task. Any issue or risk that you manage to solve and to get out of the way, and as we spoke about just now, don't see that as a failure. Just see that as something that you need to get through, solve that problem, get back up, don't give up, keep going. That's a task that's completed. That you put there onto your status report. Guys, please ask questions as we go through this. Just as always, I know this is such an important topic for so many people, and I hope this is valuable. And please just do let me know if it is valuable. Obviously, there's a lot more information in the course that I'll give you access to just now. Just a reminder, those of you that are still or have only recently just joined up onto this webinar today, please do go and subscribe onto the YouTube channel. I put the link there in the chat so that you can get the benefit of these webinars and all the other content that's available on the YouTube channel. So please do go and subscribe there. Now, in the status report, so what I've showed you there is just the once-off, but just stepping back a little bit from a regular perspective, if you get this going, and as I said to you on the previous slide, I did this every Sunday night for 4 years. So I ended up, and if you I just want to go back there quickly. If you look in that subject line there, it says week XX. Now, even if you're doing a 1-year degree, I mean, that's going to be 40, 50 weeks, whatever that you spend doing that degree. Count the number of weeks and pick a point, from when you want to count it. I picked from when my proposal was approved. So let's say you're doing a master's or a PhD, count that as week 0. And then each week you count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I ended up with the last status report I sent to my supervisors was about, in the subject line there, week 362 or something like that. And the top of the task list was, I don't know, graduated or got obviously I didn't have a ceremony because it was COVID last year. So they just dropped my certificate off at my house. But I think I just wrote there, graduated, which is a great task to put in there. And as I said to you guys on your Kanban boards previously, at some point when you put a task in the done column, you're going to say graduated, completed. That's absolutely fantastic. So just going back to where we were, let's say you've got 3 weeks now, just as a sample. The benefit and the value of doing it like this means that you then have some continuity between these status reports. So the tasks that you committed to do on that first status report there, and again, this is a little bit like burn the boats. You can do burn the boats on a daily basis, or you can almost burn the boats and on a weekly basis, with your supervisor or mentor accountability. It is up to you. That frequency or that cadence of the Kanban board is something that you're going to have to do in a natural way. Kadlejo just asks very quickly there, attempting MSc in architecture, is the intention of this task to get feedback from the supervisor on all aspects of the stage report sent to them? So you need to manage your supervisors. I, very often didn't get replies on my status reports. If I wanted a reply, then I had to really prompt them with something in the top message. Remember I spoke about right at the top there. You really got to alert them to say, I urgently need feedback on something. And the other important thing is that in this weekly status report, you must add any attachments, any documents, any assignments, any writing that you've done. Put it all in one weekly email. So if there is some feedback that you need to get on a piece of writing or an assignment or a discussion paper or a section of your thesis, for example, then you must absolutely attach that to the email and say, I need feedback on this. And Katleko, I'm going to explain to you just now how you actually manage your supervisors with better planning, because better planning commits them to certain outcomes, but you kind of need to know ahead of time what you're going to require from your supervisor. You can't suddenly sort of wake up and say, I need feedback by, tomorrow, 11 o'clock. They're just, so that's why your planning is going to help you when you do need feedback from them. So if you need feedback on those tasks or on some work that you've done and attached to the stage report, then put that in the top. If you don't, then the supervisor is going to assume that you're carrying on. And it is, in the course, I teach you that it is your degree. The first thing that you've got to get right is your mindset. It is your degree. It's not your supervisors. Yes, you get some better and worse supervisors in terms of, turnaround times on feedback, etc. And then that's something that you need to sort out and make sure that you're relatively comfortable with. But an average supervisor, I can promise you, is going to be pretty busy. If you really need them, they will respond. But the better that you plan, the more structured you are with your communications with them, the more likely you are going to get the right level of feedback from them. So just to answer you there, Katleko, it's not the intention to get regular feedback on each status report, only when you absolutely need it, and you need to know when you need it according to your planning. There were weeks, when, it looked like my supervisor had a bit of spare time and he actually went through my status report and he got back to me on a couple of the key topics, etc. But most of the time, that I don't honestly even think they read it. So you have to really highlight to them up top there if you want to. Okay. Hi, Lorato. Good to see you. Bolandle, Babalo. Hey, guys. Katlejo, your absolute pleasure there. Okay, guys. Fantastic. So now, as we were saying, as you go from one week to the next, your tasks due from the previous week, hopefully you move some of them into that other section of tasks completed. So when you go to your next week's status report, that's the previous week, and hopefully you got some of those tasks done. Very similar to the Kanban board, which again you can do on a daily basis or on a weekly basis. The Kanban board for you is going to be everything, all your tasks. And that's why I say you only share the critical tasks with your supervisor. The supervisor doesn't want to know all the detail, but you may break down all the detail. And as we said before in the time management webinar, you might have tasks there that's just 1 hour. So you might have, let's say, for your 10 research papers, each one is a sticky on your Kanban board. And you're going to do 2 tomorrow, 2 the next day, 2 the next day type of thing. But then your stage report is just going to have 6 done in the week type of thing. So your Kanban board on your workspace is going to be a lot more detailed and sort of micro level tasks that you're doing. But many of those tasks hopefully are going to be critical tasks that you want to put on the stage report. And you can see the Kanban principle here on that weekly basis coming through, because your tasks due from the previous status report should be hopefully the tasks that you've completed in the next status report. Okay, now here's the benefit to you. This focuses your mind, and if you're going through a tough patch in your life and there's a lot of things happening that means you're just not able to get to your tasks, then there's only so many times, and I had to do it many times in my degree, I couldn't move any of the tasks from the tasks due section to the tasks completed section. I just hadn't got to them. I'd failed. Okay, I'd failed for that week. And that's a reality. And you will have some of those weeks, and especially with COVID and lockdown and depression and isolation, all of these things. But if you stick to this discipline of doing this, you will get back up eventually. And you will realize, for next week, let me just get at least 1 or 2 of these tasks done, because I cannot face sending another status report with an empty column of tasks completed. Okay, what it also does for you is it helps you calibrate exactly how much time and energy you're actually able to put into your studies in the coming week. So don't promise too much. If you have a lot happening, maybe you're going on holiday, maybe you don't want to do any studies next week, then don't put anything in the tasks due next week section. Just say nothing planned. Be certain that that's fine according to your plan, and that you can give yourself that space if you need to, or if you're not able to. But this discipline and this rhythm then starts to get you onto an even keel in terms of looking ahead to the next week, what you think you can commit to and get done. And then in the previous week, a realistic sense of what you've been able to achieve. Okay, hope that's useful to everyone. Hi, Simone. Good to have you with us. Muriel, hi. And Jolene, hi. Great to have you guys with us this afternoon. Hope everyone's going well. So we're about halfway through, guys. Hope it's useful. And once again, please do just pop any specific questions onto the chat. I don't see any, so it looks like this is useful and helpful. And as I say, a lot more information in the course that you can go into in more detail. Okay. Now, I just want to teach you one concept today. It's called critical path. Now, critical path is a planning technique used in projects and programs. And if you are a project manager, or if you studied project management, this definitely will have come up in that degree or course or qualification, whatever you've done to become a program manager or a project manager. But it's an incredibly valuable and important concept for you to learn in studies, in life, in any kind of project that you're doing. And if you have a multitude of tasks that you need to do, and some of them are dependent on other tasks. So if you look there, you can only do task C and D once you've done A, right? You can only do task F once you've done C, okay? And to finish everything, you need to have done F, D, and G, right? That's what is drawn up there. Okay, Martin, yes, this video will be available on the YouTube page. And what I'd really like you to do, Martin, is to go and subscribe onto the YouTube channel, switch on your notifications there, and you'll be able to get this, and it'll be you'll get a notification popping up to you that the recording is available. So Martin, just to answer your question there, absolutely is available. Okay, now the critical path of this project is the minimum length of time you'll take to get from start to finish, based on laying out all the tasks from end to end in the longest path. So the critical path is the longest pathway through a set of tasks. Okay. So I want to ask you all a question now. No prizes. No, well, I'll think of something maybe in the Facebook group. But just for bragging rights, if you get this correct, we will certainly celebrate your ingenuity and your genius in the webinar today. What is the critical path for this project? So you've got a project here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Those are all the tasks that need to be done for the project to get you from start to finish. Okay. The critical path, as I said, is the length of time, okay, that gives you the minimum duration of the project. If you put the tasks together from end to end, that is the longest interdependent tasks from start to finish. Okay. So the answer is going to be a certain number of weeks to finish this project. So my question is, if you follow a critical path method of planning this project that's up there on the screen now, how many weeks will that project take you? What is the minimum number of weeks that project will take you, presuming that all those tasks go according to plan and take the number of weeks that are indicated on the screen there? Okay, go guys. So please, have a bash at it. Pop your answers into the chat there, and we'll tell you who's right. So Jolene says 7 weeks, question mark. She's not that confident, I don't think. She's got a question mark there, or maybe she is. She's just answering the quiz. So we've got one suggestion at Jolene. Paul Bester says 7 weeks. Paul's quite confident there. That's great. Babalo, yeah, so BEG is going to be 7 weeks. Looks like you guys get this quite 100% Kamogelo. This is a bright group that we've got on the webinar today. Absolutely fantastic. But and I think you guys get this, and maybe you'd been aware of sort of this type of thinking, intuitively, but it is called the critical path. So when you look at a bunch of interdependent tasks to get an overall project done, I want you to think about the critical path. What is the critical path of getting through that project? So you guys are absolute geniuses, and you all get the prize. And the prize is that you can have a weekend. So hopefully you didn't have too much studying planned, but if you are able to take a break, then please do so. And that is your prize for being just a brilliant bunch of students on the webinar this afternoon. So the critical path of this project, the minimum duration of time that the project is going to take is 7 weeks. And the critical path will run through, as one of you guys indicated, Babalo, the critical path will run through those tasks B, E, and G. What that means is that B, E, and G are probably your top priority tasks. The other ones, there can be a bit of slippage. They are not that important. And this is what I want you to get out of the critical path. Make sure you focus your energy and time and raise issues with your supervisors about tasks that are on the critical path. Okay. And often a supervisor will look when a student raises issues, and he'll intuitively know, but look, this is not on the critical path. This is something that we can worry about at some point. It's not the most important thing that we should worry about. So if you're able to just embed critical path thinking into what you're doing, and I'm not saying that you have to be genius, expert, project and program managers. I just want you to develop these concepts and use them in your studies to help you be a little bit more successful. All right, so there's the answer of the critical path. You all got it. So let's move on. Okay. Now, I don't know if any of you have seen Any Given Sunday, or at least watched this clip on YouTube. You can go and Google it later. But brilliant, brilliant, brilliant little monologue of Al Pacino. He's a coach there, football coach, and the clip is about a 7-8 minute sort of encouragement speech, if you like, in the locker room at halftime of a football game. And he talks there about how life is a game of inches, and obviously uses that analogy to explain, how they're going to go out back onto the field and they eventually win, of course. I mean, that's a Hollywood movie, I guess. But he talks about this idea of the game of inches. And, I talk a lot about this on the channel, in the Facebook group, and in my courses. Every little task, is an inch that you're going to have to work through, and all those inches are going to add up. And you've got to be focused on that detailed level, on those inches, because those inches are the steps and the tasks on your critical path, on your overall project plan, on the progress and the journey that you're making in your studies. Brighton, welcome. Your first day here. Brighton, I'd love to know how you found the webinar today. Did you get it from your university or some other way? Please just let me know. I'd be very interested to see how you get this and how you found this this webinar. And I hope to see you back again, of course. And we're here every week. It's kind of like the Student Success Coach team meeting. So we just have a little bit of fun, share some insights. We often have interviewees, experts on topics that are going to be helpful for you, whether it's mental health, whether it's writing, whether it's planning, or if I've got new courses, I'll launch those and coach and teach you guys. And this is just an added bonus. There's no lectures, no one's assessing you, no one's looking at you, no one's doing anything here. The most important thing is to get you successful, to get you that degree, and to go on and then obviously make the contribution in life that you want to make, and off the back of the qualification, the studying that you're doing in this degree. Okay, Brighton, so welcome. Great to have you here. Please let me know how you how you found the webinar. Love to know how people find the webinar, especially if it's your first time. Okay. And just important thing there, Al Pacino says, when you add up all those inches, that's going to make the difference between winning and losing, between living and dying. Kamogelo, my first day here as well. Got the link from my university, University of Pretoria. Okay, so probably Maralee forwarded the email. Welcome, Kamogelo. Welcome, Brighton. I'm just going to pop the link again to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So that's there for Brighton and Kamogelo. And then, of course, also the Facebook group link so that you can pop in there. And what I always say to everybody is I'm happy to hop on a call for 30 minutes one-on-one if you need help. I do that for free. Just DM me in the Facebook group. The Facebook group is the best way of getting hold of me individually, and then we can swap numbers and have a chat. Okay. All right. So Al Pacino, inch by inch, and that's the kind of mindset that I want you to have in your planning. Okay. So weekly supervisor report, critical path thinking, inch by inch. Let's crack on. Got about 20 minutes left in our time together today. Okay. So what I wanted to show you now, and again, there's a video that I narrate and take you through this in the course. But what I want to take you through now is my 6-month planning or 7-month planning mechanism that I used to complete my PhD final report back in 2019. Now, you can use this technique and this approach even if you're doing a 1-year honors or a 2-year master's, or even you've just got a 3-month module. If it's over a period of multiple weeks, what I want to just give you the inspiration here is to use this type of thinking. So in my mind, in your workspaces at home, you should have your Kanban board, and then you should have a calendar of sorts. And this is then the other piece of it that I want to show you now that should help you do better planning. Okay, so I knew that I needed to get from January to submit my final thesis to the external examiners at the end of July. And I mentioned earlier, and there was a question about getting feedback from supervisors, and I said that your planning here will help you manage your supervisors. So when I sat down, and what I'm showing you now is my thinking process in putting this together, I then took this plan and I sat with my supervisors. And I said, okay, well, this is the plan, and we need to contract on this plan, because the only way we're going to be able to stick to the plan is if we all play our role. And what I said to you is you can't expect your supervisor to give you feedback by 11 o'clock tomorrow morning if you haven't told them at least a week before. And so I wanted to give my supervisors a 6-month plan that we as a team would get to that final completion. Because remember, supervisors, once it goes to the external examiner, that then sort of has their name on it as well. So they also need to get it to a certain level of quality. And it's, going externally, out of the university, and the supervisors then are pretty much just as much accountable for the quality of that as you are. So what I then started to do was to say, okay, what are the sections? And again, this is breaking things down now. What are the big sections of my thesis that I need to finish? And in other of my courses, I teach you how to write a thesis. I teach you what the sections are, how to do referencing, what goes in each of the sections, and so on. But from a planning perspective, I took those sections as the big deliverables that I needed to complete. And I allocated those deliverables to weeks. So just download for yourself a 2021 calendar off the internet, copy paste that into a PowerPoint slide, and then take little blocks of what your tasks are. And even if it's a lecture module, put that on a week, because that's going to occupy your time. Even if you've got a holiday, put that on a week. I like, the sort of multiple months view, because then I can see the weeks and I can plan ahead of time exactly what I'm going to do in each of those weeks. So you can see there, I had a good idea by then of how much time I needed for each of those sections, and I had made some progress on my thesis already. And I teach you in the course, not the one I'll give you today, but another course, I teach you how to write your thesis from the day you get your proposal approved. Those of you that are postgrads here today, you'll have heard me talk about this a lot. Don't wait until the end of your postgraduate degree and when you need to submit it in 3 months to then open a document and start writing it up. You'll be very stressed. Okay. And a lot of what you do in your proposal, you can move forward into your final document there. So by this point, I had something to work with. I had a lot that I was reusing from my proposal, and I had a good idea of what I needed to do in each of those sections to get it to a level, to get it to the next level. Okay. So introduction, for example, I knew that if I just knuckled down, did a couple of 100 words a day, it would take me a week. Literature review, I had a little bit more work to do. Research methods, I needed 2 weeks, and I just put the blocks over those weeks. Very simple, dead simple. And if you print this out and you stick it up there, just take a Koki and write on those weeks, what it is that you need to do in those weeks. So you can see there, and this is just some screen grabs from the video in the course. Now, results section, okay, which makes sense. I was at the end of my PhD, and obviously I had only got the results quite recently and kind of written up the analysis of my data, etc. So I needed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to do results, to write up results, to polish up all the data analysis and get it into a section of my thesis. So I gave myself a good 5 weeks. And part of planning is estimating. And I don't know if I'll ever do another PhD, but you also learn by doing, and you get a good sense of how long it actually takes you to do things. And generally speaking, we think things take less time than they do. So planning ahead like this, I'm not saying build a lot of fat in unnecessarily, but be realistic about what's happening in your life in those weeks so that you can plan around that, and you can be realistic about the time that it'll take. All right, then I had to write up a discussion and a conclusion. So there I budgeted for 3 weeks, and I gave myself a contingency of 1 week. So, unknown issues propping up, and I maybe needed some time for, but the important thing, guys, and I want to emphasize this so strongly, if I hadn't finished what I wanted to do on the introduction in that first week, I didn't let that slip into the next week. I stopped and I went into the literature review, and I only did 2 weeks on the literature review. Then I went into research methods, and I only did 3 weeks on that. And if you spend too much time on one section at the expense of the other sections, you need to think about the overall piece of work that you need to do. But the contingency there would be then a catch-all of things that I hadn't got to on those other sections if I needed it. Okay. Then, and you remember we talked about the supervisor status report, which I would then send in on a Sunday night. I would then send in, as part of that weekly status report, as an attachment to that status report, the section that I had been working on up until that point. So when I sat with my supervisors, I said, right, in those Sunday night status reports, that first one, you're going to get a draft introduction section, not the whole thing. I just took that section and I sent that to them. Then you're going to get a literature review. Then you're going to get a research methods. And I started feeding them, the sections of my thesis. And again, you need to manage your supervisors. You can't give them a 200-page thesis or assignment and expect to get feedback in a week type of thing. But you can build up over time, giving them bits and pieces. You can sit with them over a 6-month period and help them understand, your plan and what you need them to do on your plan. Okay, and so there, as I indicate, I'd send this completed section with the weekly status report. Now, very important, I then gave my supervisors 6 weeks to review the full thesis, okay? And I had 3 supervisors, and they knew that middle of April, they were going to get my entire draft thesis to review. So I was having this discussion with them in January, and I said, here's the plan. You guys have got 6 weeks, but that's it. It's got to be reviewed by that time. So you manage your supervisors. So you can see there I built in 6 weeks. And then after that 6 weeks, I built in 5 weeks for me to work on corrections that they would have given me in that review period. So I then said, okay, so late May, you need to send me back corrections. And I was reminding them, and I was giving them a countdown and saying, okay, you've got 2 weeks, 3 weeks left, you've got 2 weeks left, you've got 1 week left. I need the reviews, I need the comments, etc. And then I gave myself 5 weeks to do corrections. And then we had another round of comments for 2 weeks, presuming then that it would be a lot less because I'd addressed most of them. Then another week for me to do final student corrections, then another contingency. And then by the end of July, we'd aimed to submit to the external examiner. Is that useful, guys? That's the planning process that I used for my PhD thesis. And you can see there, that I talk about in the video of crossing off day by day. And if you print this out and put it up on your cupboard, and this is exactly my printed out 6-month PhD final report completion plan that I printed out and stuck up on my cupboard in my bedroom, which I would then see every single morning when I got up, and which I put a pen next to it and I crossed out every single day, as I was going through the plan. And I think I shared this on one of the WhatsApp groups at the time back in 2019, and we were talking about managing supervisors, and why the reason it's highlighted there is because I explained to everybody that you need to give your supervisors time to review your work. And to the question that was raised earlier, you need to give your supervisors time if you need something from them. All right, so that is very important and something that I think you hopefully will all find very useful. And I have now put onto the chat the link to the course which you will have free access to enroll in, called Transform Your Academic Performance and Finish Your Degree. So what I've talked you through this afternoon very briefly, and a couple of other more detailed videos and concepts and topics are all in that course, which I'm going to go through in a little bit more detail just now. So this concept of failing forward, we spoke about failing and getting up and not giving up. Winners and losers both fail. The winner just sees that failure as a sort of stepping stone on the journey to success. And if you build in this mindset of failing forward, it's a growth mindset that says, what can I take from that failure, as I fail forward into, what I need to do next, so that I learn from that failure. And this is the course, Transform Your Academic Performance and Finish Your Degree. There's a couple of comments there. Great tone, clear and understandable content delivery, just the push I needed, extremely instructive, very clear and concise. And don't think that it's only useful for PhD and master's or postgraduate students. Those of you that are doing an undergrad, you'll have modules, you'll have assignments, you'll have exams, you'll have studying. You can use that 6-monthly planning technique, as I showed you, to just zoom out, and get a broad sense of all the tasks that you need to do. And then your day-to-day tasks on your Kanban board, and you're burning your boats, and then a week-by-week rhythm is the email, the supervisor status report that I've explained to you earlier. So there's a couple of other things in the course, but ultimately you'll learn, how to plan and successfully complete your degree and stick to your important deadlines. I also talk about discussion papers there as an important way of building in academic progress through a postgraduate degree. And then, as I indicated, regular status updates that also improves your relationship with your supervisor. So just apart from a good planning mechanism, it's something that does help streamline your interaction with your supervisor. Obalekile, just go to Google and type in, because that's a 2019 calendar. So your Monday, the days of the week are going to fall on different dates. So it's pointless, by all means, I'll send out the slides in the Facebook group, and you can pick exactly what I've shared with you today from the Facebook group. But what I will do in the Facebook group is I'll look for a decent 2021 calendar that should work for you for your studies. But you can literally go in and Google 2021, calendar, and if you, for me, that format works well. So the whole month runs along from left to right. The next month runs along from left to right. The next month runs along from left to right. That layout of the calendar, I think, when you sort of scanning through your results on Google, choose that layout of calendar, and then you just have to think about how far ahead you need to plan. Is it 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? 18 months is going to be a bit long. Things are going to change too much, and that plan is not going to be worth too much by then. I would plan anywhere between 6 and 12 months using that method, and don't over plan. You need to balance between planning and execution. So Obalekile, hopefully that's useful for you there. It's totally available calendar formats on the internet. Then that's what you get in the course. An ownership mindset, to get a grip, be effective with it. I touch on proposals there as well. Discipline with a weekly supervisor report, discussion papers, a bit about writing. I also talk about how perfection is the enemy of greatness. So just be good enough. Don't and again, those critical path tasks. Those critical path tasks, if you are too perfected on those, it's going to push the whole project out. So that's why critical path planning is so important, because as you're working on a task, you think to yourself, is this on the critical path? Is it important or valuable for me? Or what impact does it have on the rest of the plan if I let this run too long, or if I try and analyze it too much? One of the biggest things I get with postgrads is getting interviews done. And that doing interviews is a critical path task if you're doing that type of research methodology, because it's going to be the most difficult thing is to get those interviews, get people to commit to being in interviews, to do your ethics, your information forms, your consent forms. A lot of people, they will book an interview and then they just won't show up, and then you've got to, so I mean, we can do a whole webinar on getting through interviews, but that type of thinking there will just help you be more successful. Okay, a couple of thoughts then from people who've done the course. Junior, perfect match, simple and practical, useful techniques, and he was just starting a PhD. So there was a 5-star review. Master's research from Mutsa. I'd like more information on the use of discussion papers. I think I did send him. I did send the discussion papers to him. So that's that, and those are downloadable in the course as well. So I've shared in the course those as downloadable resources. Aquilina, perfect match. I needed someone to tell me that I own the degree and that I must do everything possible to complete it. Well, I've told you that today as well, and I tell you that in the course. And it's not your supervisors, it's not their degree, it's not your family's degree, your friends, your spouse, it's your degree. It's hard, but you start with that mindset. Everybody else is going to support you on that journey. And the more that you can plan for where you are dependent on them and their inputs to your successful completion of the degree, then they know exactly what you need from them on that journey. And if you're able to go to your supervisor with that type of plan that I showed you today, they'll really think to yourself, okay, this student kind of knows what they're doing. They plan things well. They know exactly when they need me. And then you're managing them. I mean, that's the ultimate way of getting people to do something, is to plan ahead and be very clear when you need them to do something. All right, then practical course for any part-time postgraduate student grappling with challenges of sustaining momentum and getting things done. Short, sweet, very useful. Thanks, Peter, Tessa, Lily. Actually interviewed Tessa on the podcast the other day, so her interview will be coming up. So those of you that are newbies into our community that you mentioned earlier, I'm going to put the link to the podcast there so that you can go and pick those up. And also, just while I'm thinking about it, I'm just going to put the link to the mailing list so that you can hop onto the mailing list and sign up there and get sort of regular offers and updates from myself. So I have shared the link to the course for you to do your degree successfully, but I've just put it into the chat there again. And once again, that's the course. That's what's available to you. I'd love it if you go in there, go through the lessons, apply them in your life, and very importantly, please leave a rating and a review on the course. Leave a rating and a review on all of my courses that you do. Any of the YouTube videos, please like and comment, and just leave that social proof for everything that I provide to you. Okay, Jolene had to rush off to a meeting. Thank you so much for all your sessions. I need to run to another meeting. Absolutely fine. Thank you so much to all of you guys who are able to join in today. Join up into the Facebook group, and that's where then we will sort of continue the conversation. If you have further questions and if you need access to these resources and these links, the Facebook group is going to be where I will provide all the links. And then if you subscribe into the YouTube channel, I'd like everybody, obviously today, to subscribe to the YouTube channel and switch on your notifications. You'll get notified of these webinars and all videos that I put into and onto the YouTube channel. Karabo, first day here, very helpful tips that are usable at every graduate level, especially the critical path of project planning. Great. Thank you, Karabo. Absolute pleasure. And the other important thing in the Facebook group is, of course, the mentors. We have 5 mentors in the Facebook group, and we had a wonderful chat with Clive Batkow about mentorship last week and what it means to be a mentor and to get a mentor and why mentors are so important in everything that you do. And so you can pop into the Facebook group and they request a mentor, and they'll then support you, possibly with a sort of a weekly catch up and check in with you, and you can possibly implement that a weekly status report with that mentor if that is going to be useful for both of you. You need to chat about that with them. And those of you that are mentors or want to be a mentor, and I would really, and I always do, I ask for people to be a mentor in the group. If you're in the Facebook group, and there were 2 people that committed, Gregory and somebody else last week, said that they would be a mentor and have followed up with them. And I just need them to sign up in the group. It's so quick and simple and easy. You just click a button and Facebook takes care of everything else. And then Facebook takes care of the process of matching you with somebody that wants you to mentor them. And look, obviously, we fully understand that you can't take on too many people. So I sort of think max 2, 3 maybe. And I really wouldn't want you to commit more time than 20, 30 minutes a week, if that, or at least just to get an email. If you agree with people that you're mentoring, that is something that you want to do. Hope, great to have you. I don't know if you're new or if you've been on these sessions before, but great to have you as well. Glad it was helpful and an absolute pleasure. Obelakile, are you available on a one-to-one to guide on course to take? Obelakile, the best thing is just DM me, send me a private message in Facebook. So join the Facebook group. I'll pick up that direct message. We can be in touch, in DMs, and I'm very happy to have a 30-minute coaching call with you for absolutely free. And everyone's at a different stage. Everyone's got different issues. So once I can listen to your specifics in that 30-minute chat, then absolutely 100% I can give you some guidance. I can't obviously do it on a regular basis. I have at least 1 or 2 of these types of coaching calls every week, just 30 minutes with somebody. I can certainly put you onto other mentors. I can point you in the direction of people that can help you, people that are in our community, experts on specific topics or specific courses, either of mine, which I can make available to you for free. So if there's any of my courses that you want to do, I always will commit to making those available to you for free. But if it's sort of academic courses or degrees, we can absolutely talk about that and I can give you some advice. And in fact, while I'm thinking about it, if you go back and watch the webinar from Kathy Sims, we were talking about graduate recruitment opportunities, because if you're talking about courses and qualifications to position yourself for the workplace, etc., she's got some great insights there, and people debating, should I change degree, should I change modules, should I change my major, etc. And if you go watch that webinar, I think there'll be some very useful insights in there for you to think about. All right, guys, we've come to the end of our hour together. So we always try and start and end 100% on time. So I will see you in the Facebook group where you will get lots more information and all the resources from today. So cheers, guys.